There are a lot of zombie games out there. There are zombie video games, zombie board games, zombie, I don't know, Lego tiles. I don't know if that's true or not. There might be. I don't know. We'll have to check with Mark Street and find that out. Anyway, as I'm saying, there are a ton of zombie games. So it's going to take a lot to get me excited about another zombie game. Well, today I'm going to take a look at another zombie game. Today I'm going to be looking at a game from Mantic within the Walking Dead universe called Here's Negan, the board game. And we're going to find out, is this game thematic? And most importantly, is it enough to make me want to own yet another zombie game? Stick around, we'll go down to the table, we'll take a look at it, and I'll come back and give you folks my thoughts.
It's time for another Dice Tower review with Robert Geistlinger.
So this is Here's Negan, the board game. Now this is from Mantic. It does share some similarities with the Walking Dead All Out War from them as well. This is a standalone game where you're basically going to be escorting Negan and trying to clear out Sanctuary. The game is played primarily as a campaign mode, and that can be played in scenario, it can be played in one-offs, and it is co-op in terms of getting through, but at the end, the player with the most rep is still going to be the winner of sorts, and players can add up their rep to see how well they did as a group and choose to do it again if they wish. In each round, we're going to have a survival phase, a walker phase, and a Here's Negan phase. In the survivor phase, players are going to take 2 actions, and those 2 actions must be 2 different actions unless they have a way to do 2 of the same. And they could move. By default, you can move 3, but if you wish, you can try to run using this die. That will mean that you need to check to see if you make noise. When you approach a door, they are going to automatically open, and if you approach a door to a room, you're going to need to check that room. Doing so, we're going to draw a room card, and that's going to tell us what goes in there. So in this case, we're going to have a red and blue die worth of walkers. So that means we're going to get 3 walkers into the room. We'll place them as so. And this one also says that we get 2 supply tokens, and maybe we'll put them here and here. After that, we would discard that, and now we would have to deal with this room should we enter it. Now, one thing about rooms you'll notice is that they have these tokens here. These are secure tokens, and they're going to be important because we're going to need to secure the rooms. Otherwise, Negan's not going to be willing to go through them. And Negan's going to be following a predetermined path from that scenario. In order to secure a room, the survivor needs to be in there by themselves, or let's say they're in there with another person. They're going to need to roll dice for that against the current security level. In this case, they're going to get 1 die per, and they're going to be rolling 2 dice. So they more than make it, so they're going to secure the room. Now the person who did the secure action is going to get reputation equal to the current security level, and anybody there with them is going to get a reputation as well. Now, as far as fighting, you have melee and you have shooting. So I'll start with melee. Let's say that Sherry's here, and I'm not going to cover any special abilities. I'm just going to cover the basic. So she's going to maybe attack this zombie here. She's going to get a red die for that. She's going to use her knife. So she's going to roll for that. And then the walkers roll their defense, which is a red die. And in this case, they did successfully defend it. Let's say she decided to shoot from over here. This case, for her, it is a red die and a white die, so she's going to roll those. And then the walker, again, is going to defend. In this case, it did not. But because she didn't get this exclamation symbol, she didn't get a headshot, so the walker goes prone. Now, if you ever attack a walker and you're right next to it, you just take it off and gain a reputation. If she were attacking here, and I'm going to just set this is what had rolled, this would have a headshot because it has the exclamation, therefore she would just immediately kill that walker. Other things you can do is if you're not adjacent, you can try to hold your nerve. The threat level does need to be at least at 2. You'll roll to see this. If so, it's going to gain you reputation and reduce the threat level. Other things you can do is you can try to put out fires. You can pick up items. So let's say that this supply token was here and Sherry wanted to check for that, or sorry, Laura. She could go ahead and check the supply token, draw a supply item. She gets a meds, and that's an item that would allow her to remove a bite wound from somebody, and we'll explain how those work here in a minute. Another thing you can do is call Negan to your aid. It's not really recommended as it will upset Negan. After all of the survivors have taken their actions in order, then we move to the walker. In the walker phase, first we're going to draw an event card, and this says we get +1 on the threat, so we would raise the threat level. Then we choose a survivor, the nearest unopened, unlocked, unsecured room to that survivor is immediately open. We open all doors in that room and draw a room card for it and any other rooms open. So if we were, say, here, we would open this room, this would open, and it would also open this, so we'd end up popping these two rooms. Now, I'm not going to do that, but that is what would happen there. After this, we're going to move walker tokens. Now, these are these tokens here, and these are important because they could be walkers, they could just be sounds we're hearing, and they're going to advance towards the survivors, and I'm going to move her to here just to make this scene. Actually, we'll put her here. And they're going to advance like this. Now, as long as they don't have line of sight on a survivor model, well, they're not known. But once they do, they flip over and reveal. Now, again, they could be nothing, but in this case, we get a blue die worth of walkers. So we roll it, and we get 2 walkers in its place. After we advance those tokens, then we're going to move walkers, and they're going to advance 2 spaces towards the nearest survivor. And then they're going to get to attack. So in this case, they roll with a red die, and these two, let's just do a one-on-one here. I'm gonna make this simple for the purposes of this video. We've got Sherry, who has a defense die of a white. So first the walker's going to roll, they get this, and Sherry rolls, and she gets this. So she's gonna take damage because she rolled less, but additionally, because they got the exclamation, she's going to get a bite. Now, a bite is important because by default, if your stamina ever reaches down here, you're just knocked out. But if your stamina reaches down here and you're bitten, well, then you're removed and replaced with a zombie. Additionally, if she was bitten, she also would lose reputation. After the walker phase is done, we're going to move to Here's Negan phase. Now, in the first round, he simply comes onto the board. Negan has arrived. But in later phases, later rounds, where he's going to check to see if he's enraged. And if he has his rage, that means that he either he can't move because we're blocking his path. He's starting next to zombies, or he's in an unsecured room, in which case we'll do this. For the purposes of this, we're going to say that he's not raged, and we're going to pull a card. We've got open fire. He's going to move 1 space, and then we're going to resolve the text on here, which this one says, any survivor with a equipped shoot weapon within range and line of sight of 1 or more walkers must go ahead and attack it, and would gain a blue die of reputation instead of the standard 1. So actually not a pretty bad card overall, but not really going to help us at the moment. Now, on the other hand, if he is enraged, then we're going to do this. First off, the survivor with the highest rep is going to lose a reputation. Survivors within 3 spaces of him are going to get a whack from old Lucille, and they're going to lose a stamina. If there's no survivors in range, then he's just going to bang Lucille around and make some noise. Or if he's adjacent to any walkers, he's going to remove 1 blue die worth of walkers as well. Additionally, that means that we're not going to resolve the text on the card. Also, if he's in an unsecured room, he's going to exit via the shortest route. At the end of all of those, then we're going to do an end phase where we're going to remove our activation tokens. We're going to increase the threat level by 1 if there are fewer of these than there are secured rooms than there are survivors, which there are. We're going to increase the threat level by 1 if there's any fire out on the board. We're going to roll for any prone walkers to see if they stand back up. Well, in this case, this one doesn't. And we're going to go ahead and pass the first player marker, which is old Lucille. Game's going to go like this until eventually, hopefully, we get Negan all the way here, following his path, clearing the rooms and securing it. That would mean that we win and we'll check our reputation. If, on the other hand, at some point all of us have been bitten and turned into zombies, then we'll lose. If at any point Negan's stamina ever hits 0, then we will lose. And if at any point the threat level goes all the way up to 19, we also will lose. Otherwise, we'll win. We'll check our reputation, see who has the most. They'll be declared the lieutenant, and we'll go ahead and potentially move to the next scenario. Now, some scenarios will have additional special rules and special things that need to be done in addition to Negan, such as here where we have to secure a certain number of rooms, times where we have to open every room and collect every supply token. So you're going to have different requirements. But overall, the primary goal of every mission is to secure the rooms, clear the zombies, and make way for Negan to get here so we don't make him upset. Do that, and you have won the game. So that's an overview of how Here's Negan is played. Now, for the most part, I did cover the entire game, but not everything that can come up, so always be sure and check the rulebook. Now, as to how I felt about this game, well, let me start by saying I was not that familiar with Negan as a character in the Walking Dead universe. Outside things that I've read online and through playing the game. This meant that I went into this having no real preconceived notion of what it should be, so after playing it, I did go ahead and do a lot more reading online as I really did want to know how this game stacked up against it, and in my still limited knowledge, I can say that this feels thematically pretty on point. Negan's a jerk, and I don't want to make him mad. Okay, review over. No, I'm just kidding. Now, so let's start with the artwork. First, the artwork in the game, it deliberately pulls from the comic book versus the show, and I really appreciate that about this. The artwork throughout felt cohesive, and it really did draw me into the theme, and the miniatures in this game were also quite nice, and definitely are now on my list of games I'll eventually paint. Eventually. I especially like that there were different models for all of the walkers, and while the little first player Lucille marker wasn't something needed, it felt like one of those things you didn't know you wanted until you had it. Thematically, this game is, as I said, quite on point. The walkers felt like a threat in front of me, and Negan felt like a threat behind me. At some point, I even found myself making jokes about the man baby getting upset because we weren't doing things fast enough. Negan's controlled by the game, but really does feel like another player in the game, both helping and hurting the players constantly. You really do get a sense of not wanting to make him rage at you. The walker tokens were something I really enjoyed, as well as that you never know what they are. Is it a horde? Is it a single walker? Am I being afraid of the dark? Now, this isn't the first game to use this, but it does fit within this game perfectly. I love the story progression. It cohesively drives the overall narrative of the game. The game also does a really good job of scaling up and down with different player counts. All that said, I did have a few complaints, the first being the board tiles. It's nice that they're there, it's nice they're modular, they have identifiers such as 1A, but nowhere in the rulebook on the campaigns are these ever identified. And that seems like something that was just missed in the rules. It doesn't break the game, but it is a rather annoying oversight. My other gripe with the game and the way it feels is that you really just don't have a way to stop quarterbacking. I don't like the fact that one player has the most amount of rep at the game, because that really does lend itself to the quarterbacking. And I think for me personally, I would just take that out of the game. I also wasn't crazy about the whole chart ranking the game. That just really wasn't something that I liked. Some players might like it. It's not really a complaint. It's just something that wasn't for me personally. I did also thought the game kind of felt like it starts out on hard mode, and for some people that's going to be good. So for some people that's going to be good, that's going to be bad. I do wish that the quarterbacking element wasn't there as much as it is, because it's not for everyone in that respect. Now, overall, this is a highly thematic game. It really does fit well if you're really into the Walking Dead scenario and you really feel you need more Here's Negan or more Lucille in your life. This game is an absolute must for you to check out. It's thematically really on point. I really found myself enjoying this one. And it has enough that it doesn't feel like just another zombie game. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this look at Here's Negan, the board game. It's helped you decide if it might be right for you and your game group. And if so, go ahead and check it out. And I look forward to seeing you folks next time.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.